Fridtjof Nansen was born on October 10, 1861, near Oslo, Norway, in a country defined by vast forests, icy seas, and towering mountains. Growing up in this rugged environment, Nansen developed a deep connection with nature. From an early age, he loved skiing, hiking, and exploring the outdoors. But Nansen was not only an adventurer. He was also fascinated by science. As a young student, he studied zoology and oceanography, developing a strong interest in the natural world and the mysteries of the Arctic. These two passions, science and exploration, would eventually combine to shape one of the most remarkable careers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
In 1888, Nansen set out to accomplish something many experts believed was impossible: crossing the vast ice sheet of Greenland. At the time, the interior of Greenland was largely unexplored and considered extremely dangerous. Rather than beginning from the populated western side, Nansen chose a bold strategy. He and his small team started on the remote eastern coast, ensuring that the only way forward was across the ice. Using skis and sleds, they traveled hundreds of kilometers over frozen terrain, facing fierce winds, freezing temperatures, and constant physical exhaustion. After weeks of struggle, the team successfully reached the western coast of Greenland. The expedition proved that the interior of Greenland could be crossed and made Nansen internationally famous.
After the Greenland expedition, Nansen turned his attention to an even more ambitious goal: reaching the North Pole. Scientists had observed that ice and debris found near Greenland sometimes originated from Siberia, suggesting that ocean currents carried ice across the Arctic Ocean. Nansen developed a daring theory: if a ship were strong enough, it might freeze into the Arctic ice and drift with the current across the polar region. To test this idea, he designed a special ship called the Fram. Unlike ordinary ships, its rounded hull was built to withstand crushing ice by allowing the vessel to be pushed upward rather than squeezed. In 1893, Nansen and his crew sailed the Fram into the Arctic Ocean and deliberately allowed it to become trapped in the ice. Then they waited.
For nearly 3 years, the Fram drifted slowly across the frozen Arctic Ocean. During this time, Nansen and his crew conducted scientific observations, collecting valuable data about ocean currents, weather patterns, and polar conditions. Yet the ship's drift did not take them close enough to the North Pole. Determined to push farther, Nansen made another bold decision. In 1895, he and a companion left the ship with sleds and dog teams, attempting to travel toward the pole over the shifting sea ice. The journey was extremely dangerous. Though they reached a record northern latitude for the time, the conditions made further progress impossible. Eventually, they turned south and survived a harsh return journey through the Arctic wilderness. Their expedition became one of the most famous polar adventures in history.
Beyond his daring expeditions, Nansen made significant contributions to science. His Arctic research improved understanding of ocean currents, sea ice movement, and polar geography. His work helped establish modern oceanography and influenced future generations of polar researchers. But Nansen's most important contributions would come not from exploration, but from humanitarian work.
After World War I, Europe faced a massive humanitarian crisis. Millions of people were displaced, prisoners of war were stranded far from home, and many refugees lacked official identification. Nansen turned his attention toward helping those affected by the chaos. Working with the League of Nations, he organized efforts to repatriate prisoners of war and assist refugees across Europe and Asia. One of his most important innovations was the creation of the Nansen Passport, an internationally recognized travel document that allowed stateless refugees to cross borders and rebuild their lives. For thousands of people who had lost their citizenship during the war, the passport provided a lifeline.
Nansen's tireless efforts to support refugees and displaced people earned him international respect. In 1922, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his humanitarian achievements. By then, the man who had once crossed glaciers and drifted across Arctic ice had become a global advocate for human dignity and international cooperation. His work demonstrated that courage could be expressed not only in exploration, but also in compassion.
Fridtjof Nansen was an extraordinary figure who succeeded in multiple fields. He was an explorer who pushed the boundaries of the known world, a scientist who expanded knowledge of the Arctic, and a humanitarian who helped thousands of people rebuild their lives after war. Few individuals have managed to influence so many different areas of human endeavor.
Fridtjof Nansen passed away on May 13, 1930, but his legacy continues to shape both science and humanitarian work. The ship Fram remains one of the most famous exploration vessels in history, and the principles behind the Nansen Passport inspired modern refugee protection systems. Today, organizations helping displaced people still draw inspiration from his ideas and dedication.
Fridtjof Nansen's life reminds us that exploration is not only about discovering new places, but also about expanding our understanding of humanity. From the frozen wilderness of the Arctic to the crowded refugee camps of post-war Europe, Nansen demonstrated that courage, curiosity, and compassion can change the course of history. His story shows that the greatest journeys are not only those across oceans and ice, but also those that lead toward helping others.